Hey everyone, you know how sometimes you want to say what you really prefer in English, but you're worried about sounding a little too blunt or direct? Well, there's a fantastic, super common phrase that fixes all that, and today we're going to absolutely master it. We're talking about would rather.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Quick question for you, just to get your brain working. For your next vacation, are you thinking beach or mountains? Go ahead, pick one. Which one do you really prefer?
And you know what? The perfect way to answer that question is by using the phrase would rather. It's this brilliant little tool we use to clearly and politely say we like one thing more than another. And trust me, as you're about to see, it is way easier to use than you might think.
So, let's start from the ground up with the absolute basics. We are going to build your very first and most common would rather sentence piece by piece.
All right, first things first. Every sentence needs a subject, right? The person or thing doing the action. For our little example here, let's just start with she. Simple. Okay, part two. We take our magic phrase and pop it right in there after the subject. She would rather. See? This is the heart of the whole thing, the part that signals a choice is coming.
Now, listen up, because this is the most important rule of all. After would rather, you always, and I mean always, use the simple base form of the verb. No to read, no reading, just the plain old verb. So now we have, she would rather read.
And to finish it off, we need to say what she's choosing against. We do that using the word than. She would rather read a book than watch TV. And boom, there it is. A perfect, natural-sounding sentence that clearly states a preference.
Let's look at one more, just to really let it sink in. We would rather walk than take a taxi. You see that pattern? It's the same formula. Subject, would rather, base verb, than, and the other option. It's a clean, simple, and super effective structure.
Awesome. You've totally nailed the positive form. But what happens when you want to say what you don't prefer? Or when you want to ask someone else about their choice? Let's dive into negatives and questions.
You might think making this negative is complicated, but it is so easy. You don't need to add don't or anything like that. You literally just slide the word not in right after rather. So, I would rather stay becomes I would rather not stay. That's it. So here's the formula to lock into your brain. It's exactly what we did before, but with that little word not tucked right in between would rather and your verb. For example, he would rather not talk about it. See how smooth that sounds?
Okay, what about asking a question? It's just as simple. It's basically a two-step dance. Just think of the statement in your head like, you would rather go to the beach. Then, all you do is grab the word would and move it to the very front. That's all there is to it.
So, let me ask you right now, would you rather eat sushi or pizza? This is a classic example, right? A perfect question asking for a choice between two clear options.
And if somebody asks you a question like that, how do you answer? Well, you don't need a whole long sentence. These quick, polite answers are perfect. Yes, I would. No, she wouldn't. They're simple, they're clear, and you'll hear them all the time.
Okay, we're in the home stretch. For this last part, let's go a step beyond just yes or no questions. What if you need more details? What if you want to know what or where or who someone prefers?
This is where your good old WH question words come into play. You just stick them right on the front of the question format we just learned. This lets you get way more specific, asking about people, activities, places. It makes this phrase an incredibly flexible tool in your conversation toolbox.
Phew, we've covered a lot of ground pretty quickly. So let's do a super fast review of the most important things to remember. And then I've got one final question for you.
Okay, if you forget everything else from today, please remember these three things. Number one, always use the base form of the verb. Number two, for negatives, the word not goes right after would rather. And number three, this phrase is your absolute best friend for comparing two different choices. Get these down and you're golden.
And that brings us to the end. So, now it is your turn. It's time to actually use what you've just learned. Think about your plans. What would you rather do this weekend? I really hope you feel a lot more confident using this fantastic phrase. Thanks so much for joining me.